Well, if you would open your Bibles today, Acts chapter 1, verse 1 and 2 is our focus today. Notice here the word of the Lord. In the first book, O Theophilus, I have dealt with all that Jesus began to do and teach until the day when he was taken up, after he had given commands through the Holy Spirit to the apostles whom he had chosen. Here today I'm just talking here from the subject of the cycle of victory, the cycle of victory, the cycle of victory. There is a cycle to victory. I know that there are some cycles that some people have where they just, do well for a season and do poorly for a season and then do well for a season and poorly for a season. Or they go through cycles of where people drop out of school, or cycles where they get pregnant out of wedlock in their families, and then cycles where people get addicted to drugs. It's just a cycle, just a vicious cycle. But this is a teaching on the cycle of victory, and there is a cycle to victory, and here it is in its essence. It is learn, do, and then teach, in that order. Learn, do, teach. It is the cycle of victory. You learn something, you do it, you teach it to others. Because success without a successor is failure. You learn, you do, you teach. It is the cycle of victory. You don't have victory if you just learn to do something well and you never teach it to someone else. If it just works for you and you never help anybody else achieve. That's not really what I would call success or victory in anybody's book. But the cycle of victory is learn, do, teach. Learn, do, teach. John Maxwell says that a leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. Now, if you know the way, it's because you've learned the way. Is that not true? So there it is. Here's the pattern. You learn, you do. When you go the way, that's your doing. And then when you show the way, that's your teaching others the way. You know the way. A leader is a person who knows the way, goes the way, shows the way. He learns it, does it, he teaches it. Learn, do, teach. Jesus didn't just have this stuff by osmosis. The Bible says that he grew and learned. He waxed strong in wisdom and grew with favor with God and man. And I want you to notice that Jesus was not just this island unto himself. Jesus learned from his Father. As his example, St. John chapter 5, verse 19 and 20. Notice this. So Jesus explained. He said, I tell you the truth. The Son can do nothing by himself. He wasn't full of himself. He emptied himself of himself. He says, I tell you the truth, the Son can do nothing by himself. He does only what he sees the Father doing. Whatever the Father does, the Son does. There's the learning process. For the Father loves the Son and shows him everything he is doing. In fact, the Father will show him how to do even greater works than healing this man. Then you will truly be astonished. Here you see the pattern. He learned it, then he does it, and then he teaches it to others. It reminds us of the three phases of life. The three phases of life are learning, earning, and returning. In one phase, in the first phase, you're learning. In the earning phase, you're doing. In the returning phase, you're teaching others to do. And there's some overlap even of these, because you can be earning and returning at the same time. But it is a cycle. It is a cycle. If you ever want something to continue to go in perpetuity, you have to be able to develop and participate in the cycle of victory. Learn, do, teach. Learn, do, teach. Learn, do, teach. And here's the deal. Our first duty is to unlearn and then relearn. Because not everything that we were taught to believe as so is so. And that's why we have to unlearn. It is much easier to deal with an uneducated person than to deal with a miseducated person. Because the miseducated person believes that what they were taught originally was right. And whoever has the first shot at teaching, it's a stronghold. And there are people today, grown folks, that are living with superstition. Because somebody told them some crazy stuff, and they allow superstition to take predominance in their life over the biblical truth of the Word of God. I mean, it's a cracked mirror. It's a black cat that crosses their path, and they're freaking out because of some superstition, and they want to throw some salt over their left shoulder and turn around, you know. I mean, I've found superstitious Christians that deal with fables and legends. This is not a book of fables and legends. This is a book of truth. You shall know the truth, and the truth will make you free. And so our first duty is to oftentimes unlearn and then relearn, because we've been trained by the world to do it the wrong way. The world says, get all you can. Get all you can while you can. Get all you can and can all you get. And God's kingdom is built on different principles. He says, give and then it shall be given to you. You see, the world says, show me and then I believe you. I mean, you know, if you're from Missouri, show me. The show me state. But God says, believe me and then I'll show you. So oftentimes we have to unlearn some things and then relearn them. And if a person is considered to be an authority, somebody that we respect, or if what they teach us seems logical to us, we will accept it without further question or even proving it by any standard. Aristotle was such a person as an authority. You know, he was one of the great philosophers. There was Socrates, his student Plato, and then Aristotle. Aristotle said that heavy objects fall at a faster speed than lighter objects. And for 2,000 years we believed that and took it as the truth because Aristotle said it. Until in the 1500s, around 1576, an Italian scientist by the name of Galileo proved that this was not true. I mean, one day he questioned, he says, is that really true? I mean, how do we know that? Just because Aristotle said it. And he climbed up the Leaning Tower of Pisa. I've taken my whole family there to see the Leaning Tower of Pisa there in Italy. And he climbed up the Leaning Tower in Pisa, and he took two spherical balls, one like made out of lead and the other one made out of wood, the same size. He's leaning out of the top of the tower, and he drops them to the ground. Guess what happened? They hit the ground at the same time. The only thing that will impact the speed is the shape of the thing, which has wind resistance. But he proved that if you put the same box, if you took a bowling ball and then had another sphere the same size of the bowling ball and put a feather in it and drop both of them, they're going to hit the ground at the same time. It blew what Aristotle said out of the water. It's not even true. But we had accepted it as truth because Aristotle said it. Nobody had ever tested it. And so sometimes what you learned originally was not even true. There's some things that people's mama told you, you know, I was told you drink coffee to make you black. I guess you can tell I've had some. You will be surprised. You'll be surprised. I mean, I was in the hospital one day visiting with a lady. She was just pinching the baby's nose. I said, excuse me? She told me she was shaping her baby's nose. I'm like, oh, okay. You will be surprised. You will absolutely be surprised as to what people believe and then what they do as a result of their believing the wrong thing. So that's why our first duty oftentimes is to unlearn, and then sometimes we can relearn. But you have to be willing to do what I would say, like break out of your shell of the world that you've been in. A lot of people don't realize that a lobster is encapsulated in a hard, fixed shell. That shell does not grow with the lobster. It does not grow with the lobster. A lobster goes through a process called molting. Molting is where a lobster sheds its hard shell. So they imbibe water. The water then causes them to grow bigger than the shell, and they come out of the shell and leave the shell there. That happens to a lobster about 25 times within the first 5 to 7 years. 25 times they are breaking out of a hard shell that has no flexibility to expand with them. So they leave it behind. Lobsters grow all of their life. Once they reach adulthood, they're about a pound by this time, and between 5 and 7 years of age. And from that point on, for the rest of their life, they will go through molting again, where they shed their shell because they get bigger. And they do that every year or 2 years once they are an adult. And another species that does that is a snake. Snakes grow continuously throughout life. That's why you can get these big 30-foot snakes. And guess what they do? They shed their old skin. They leave it behind because it was limiting to them. What is your hard shell that has been limiting your life, keeping you at the same level of income, keeping you with the same experiences in your relationships, dealing with the same old drama? It's time to break out of the shell, because see, we think that we've changed because we jumped out of the frying pan into the skillet, because we left Henry and now we with Willie. And we think that we've actually changed something, and we are really in the same cycle. Sometimes it's time to change the shell, grow out of that. It's like, I've been through that. Baby girl has had enough of this. Baby boy has had enough of this. I'm not going to deal with this anymore. I'm going to come out of this thing. And notice what the lobster does. It imbibes water that causes its body to enlarge and gives it the ability then to come out of that. We have the water of the Word, and you get that Word in you. That Word will begin to fill you and make you bigger than the old shell, the old paradigm of the things that kept you limited in a place, that now you are bigger than what you were encapsulated in when you were smaller. And as you've grown, because we took that Word in us, the Word helps us to grow and break out of old paradigms, old shells, old things that locked us into behavior. Know the truth, and the truth will make you free. It sets us free. So you get the water of the Word and let that thing cause your life to start swelling. You know, so if you really want to be swole, you get that Word on the inside of you. That Word will swell you up. Come on, devil. Come on, I'm coming out of here. You need to let him know, I'm swole. I got the Word in me. I got the Word in me. And whenever you get under pressure, whatever is in you is coming out when you're under pressure. And so get filled with the water of the Word, because the devil is going around in your life setting fires. But when you're filled with the water, you have the ability to be able to extinguish all of the fires that the devil is trying to set in your life. It's time to break out of your old molds, your old shells. And see, learning is key to growth. Learning is key. It's key. Now, I use key as an acronym. It means keep educating yourself. Keep educating yourself. Use your key. Keep educating yourself. Keep educating. I don't care how old you are. Keep educating yourself. I don't care that your children are grown. Keep educating yourself. I don't care how much money you have. Keep educating yourself. I don't care how many degrees you have. Keep educating yourself. Keep growing. Never, ever stop growing. And listen, a leader who falls in love with the status quo soon becomes a follower. A leader who falls in love with the status quo soon becomes a follower. That's why you have to keep your key. Keep educating yourself. Keep educating. Touch somebody, tell them, keep educating yourself. Keep educating yourself. Keep educating yourself. You don't want your mind to leave you. You better keep educating yourself. Your mind will check out on you. It will check out. Let me give you some of our best teachers. Look, these are life's 3 best teachers. Look at that. Heartbreaks, empty pockets, and failures. Somebody knows what I'm talking about. There's some things that you be with a person, the wrong kind of person, there's a lesson in it. It's a teacher. It at least lets you know the kind of person you don't want to be with. And it lets you know now what to look for. It'll shatter your naivete to where you have some wisdom now. It's like, oh yeah, you know, I've been sold some wooden nickels before. Wait just a minute. You're going to have to, you're going to have to come again. You're going to step to me correct. You know why? That's somebody who's been through heartbreak. And when you've gone through heartbreak, you have learned that I am not going to let you hook me into this so quickly. It's like, just wait just a minute. I mean, you're trying to take this too fast. You have guards up when your heart has been broken. You don't give people just easy access when you've gone through heartbreak. It teaches you to be discerning. When you go through heartbreak, you know, you get some wisdom in there that you develop patience. Patience is a secret weapon that forces deception to reveal itself. So you have to take your time. You have to say, let's slow this down. And I'm telling you, there's nothing that will teach you like having empty pockets. My God, when you run with limited money, it's amazing how creative that you can become when your money ain't right. Boy, if you're running on a limited budget, I mean, I have seen women do some stuff. I mean, they know how to spread meal. They can take, I'm telling you, I mean, they can take some scraps. You can think there ain't nothing in this house to eat. And a few minutes later, you give them, they got some black-eyed peas on the stove. They got some rice. They done made some cornbread. They got you a glass of water. I mean, they know how to do stuff. They know how to stretch stuff. Their creativity is like, no, we don't need a new one of those. I got some needles. I got some thread. I'm going to make them a prom dress. Wait just a minute. We can get the drape down there off the wall here. Your empty pockets will teach you you don't waste. You don't leave lights on when nobody's in the room. You don't leave faucets leaking. You don't just, just because the gas pump shut off, you don't just let gas, just snatch it out and let it leak on the ground. You shake it while it's... That's a lesson that you learn from empty pockets. I mean, it'll teach you some stuff. And then there's nothing that will teach you like failure. Failure is a fabulous teacher. It is a fabulous teacher. It is an absolute fabulous teacher. You don't want to walk out of a lesson that failure taught you. All of the great people who've ever succeeded have always failed. First, you fall. You start falling and failing before you ever learn to walk. It is normal to life. Your best teacher, hear me carefully, your best teacher is your last mistake. Your best teacher is your last mistake, because that's the one that's fresh is on you. And I mean, it teaches you a lesson, you know what I mean? If you've been burned when somebody's selling you some beachfront property in Idaho, your best teacher is your last mistake. And it's amazing that God, He teaches us. When He teaches us, God often uses problems, He uses people, and He uses pressure. You'd be surprised. None of these things are comfortable. You have to understand, the only reason that the lobster comes out of that shell is because when you grow, the environment, if it doesn't grow with you, you got to break out of it. Because it becomes uncomfortable. You know what happens if your feet are still growing and your shoes are not? And some of you have bunions and calluses and all kind of things going on with your toes, because the shoe was cute and all they had was a 7 and you know you needed a 9. But if the shell is not growing, you got to break out of it. And that's why when folks, before they can get to the parking lot good, I mean, the dogs are barking and the shoes are off in the car. You don't even wait till you get home. And I just want you to realize, that over the years, I've learned that as you grow, as you change, as you learn things, it's uncomfortable. And you will never grow beyond the level of pain that you're willing to tolerate in your life. You will never grow beyond the level of pain that you're willing to tolerate. And so you have two options. You either increase your tolerance for pain when you get ready to grow, you either increase your tolerance for pain, or you reduce the size of your dream or your vision to the amount of pain that you're willing to tolerate. Those are the only two choices that you have. You either increase your tolerance for pain. If you're going to be good at anything, you're going to have a high tolerance for pain. a high tolerance for pain. That was a physical therapist that was working with Kobe Bryant, and she said that she had never had another patient who could bear pain as well as he could. You don't become the best at what you're doing and you can't take pain. If you're going to be good at anything, you're going to have to make yourself uncomfortable. You're going to have to be willing to practice when other people are asleep and playing and on the internet and on their telephones. And it's a pain. Your life will never grow beyond the level of pain that you are willing to tolerate. So you have to either decrease the size of your dream or your vision, or you increase your tolerance for pain. And I'm telling you this, learning is a gift even when pain is the teacher. Learning is a gift even when pain is the teacher. And there are some lessons that you learn, some of the most valuable lessons that you will ever learn were painful lessons. But I bet you this, you didn't forget it. You don't forget painful lessons. If something pained you, if something cost you a lot, you don't forget painful lessons. If somebody scammed money out of you, you don't forget painful lessons. You never ever forget a painful lesson. Learning is a gift even when pain is your teacher. I mean, I learned about the law of timing the hard way. It was very painful for me. But I learned the law of timing. Because on April the 8th of 1974, it was a Monday night. I never will forget it. It was a chilly night. And I went out to the Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. It wasn't Turner Field then. It was the Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. And this was the night that Hank Aaron, who had 714 hits, and it was the night that maybe he would break Babe Ruth's record. And there were all kind of dignitaries there. Pearl Bailey was there to sing the national anthem. Sammy Davis Jr. was there. Maynard Jackson, the current mayor of Atlanta, was there. Jimmy Carter, who was the governor of Georgia at that time, was there. This is April the 8th, a Monday night, 1974. It was chilly that night, and the bishop was there. And here I'm at the game, and Al Downings from the LA Dodgers was pitching, and Hank Aaron was at the bat. And it comes across the plate, and pow, he gets number 715, and he breaks it, and I missed it because it was cold out there, and I left. I heard it on the radio on the way home. That's how I learned about the law of timing. I left at the wrong time. The stadium that night is the first time that the Atlanta Fulton County Stadium was at capacity. There were 53,755 people there. And the bishop was there, and I left because I was uncomfortable, and I heard it on the radio on my way driving home. The law of timing. I will never forget the law of timing. It's painful. It's painful. I mean, other people had come, they just knew that history was probably going to be made this night. That's why the place was sold out. And it was cold. And I valued being comfortable more than that moment. And you see, oftentimes, the opportunity of a lifetime is only available during the lifetime of the opportunity. And I missed my moment and heard it on the radio. The law of timing. It was a painful way for me to learn that. I mean, I'd have rather missed another regular program on TV. But I missed a historic event. I missed a historic event. And my question to you is, what do you need to learn? 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 Everybody needs to learn something. I mean, here's one of the things that a lesson that a lot of young people need to learn, is that everything that you do does not need to be seen or heard. Not everything needs to go on social media. And sometimes that stuff is out there, it's out there, it's out there. You be going to try to get a job later on the road and all your foolishness. Not everything you do needs to be seen nor heard. There is such a thing as privacy. There's something you ought to do in private. And the world shouldn't have access to everything you do and everything you say. Here's another lesson that some people need to learn. When you're going through a difficult, trying situation in your life, you have to remind yourself of this. This too shall pass. This too shall pass. No problem lives forever. This too shall pass. I'm in a difficult period right now. This too shall pass. It's not going to always be like this. This too shall pass. It gives you perspective to realize that this is not going to be the story of my life for the rest of my life. This too shall pass. Tell somebody, this too shall pass. This too shall pass. This too shall pass. Here's another question. Who are your teachers? Who are your teachers? Who are your teachers? And I want to submit this to you, that everyone that you meet has something to teach you. Everyone that you meet has something to teach you. I look at people as a gold mine, and the treasure that is in them needs to be mined out of them. So when you're with other people, don't try to impress people with everything that you know. You know what you know, and you don't learn when you share what you know.
Thank you for watching Power for Living with Bishop Dale C. Bronner. Join us again next time for Power for Living, where revelation is power. Power for living.